You've tuned in to the 49ers Rush podcast, and here is your host, John Chapman.
All right, it is NFL draft time. Thank you for listening and tuning in to the 49ers Rush podcast, but this time of the year, it gets a little special, and if you are one of the non-49ers fans, first off, I apologize, but this is going to be a draft-specific podcast for the next few months until after the draft. So for all my 49ers brethren, the faithful out there, stay tuned. I will be adding NFL or 49ers news at the end of these podcasts, which I will mention the time that starts in the description. But this is going to be a specific draft podcast, and today is going to be awesome. I'm really excited about it. It's basically going to be a Nick Bosa versus Josh Allen podcast. We're going to dive in deep to both of these two guys, you know, two top 5, top 10 picks guaranteed, basically, and what they both offer. I'm going to go through my complete scouting report and coaching notes for each one of them, where their strengths and advantages are, and whenever I judge or break down game film for edge rushers, I go through a 10-part scheme, basically evaluation list on 10 different things, and I'm going to go through and share the grades that I put out for each one of them in each category, where each person supersedes the other, strengths and weaknesses, because they both have those. You know, they're both going to be top 5 picks probably, but definitely are not void of their own weaknesses and disadvantages, at least at this point. So that's what we got going on. This is going to be an edge-specific podcast, and as I continue my analysis and breaking down different ones, I'm going to be bringing in different people that I have in a similar tier at different positions and doing a very similar concept. So if you are a NFL draft person or you know a friend of another team, send them over here. Tell them to look up 49ers Rush podcast, hit subscribe, because this is going to be all NFL draft for the next few months. I'm so excited. Got my tickets to fly out to Nashville. Without further ado, little bit of housekeeping. We have been given our friends, our sponsors over at NFL Game Day Sports and Memorabilia have given us one of the greatest gifts a person could ever have, a signed Roger Craig authentic jersey. This is amazing. The very first player in NFL history to have 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in the NFL. Absolutely incredible. I love Roger Craig, just the high knees man himself back in the day. So if you want this jersey, it is yours. Very easy. All you have to do is head over to my Twitter at JL_Chapman, JL_CHAPMAN. Retweet that tweet. And then hit subscribe to my YouTube channel, which if you haven't already, you need to. I put almost all of my video analysis up on there on top of the highlight videos and coaching notes that I put up. So all you have to do is head over to YouTube, just Google John Chapman, JOHNCHAPMAN. Then on the filter, click filter, channels. It's the first one to pop up. You'll see me with the sunglasses on there. Hit subscribe to that. I put a lot of video content up there that just doesn't really go through the podcast media. So if you are a visual person, I already have my detailed coaching breakdown of both of these. But I just want to say thanks again. Game Day Sports and Memorabilia. If you need any type of sports memorabilia, these are your people. They have everything. Signed posters, autographs, helmets, mini helmets, cards, whatever you need. So birthdays, they are the people. We are so thankful. They help us out a lot and give us a lot of fun stuff to give away. So again, head over there, retweet that, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, John Chapman, and just hit subscribe, and you are entered in, and I will let you know the winner when we get to that time. So let's jump in. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go through and just read my coaching notes over both of these players. We're going to start with Nick Bosa, who, you know, you're going to find out I'm pretty biased right off the start. I love Nick Bosa. I do think he is the number one player in this draft so far. So out of Ohio State, 6'4", 263 pounds. He's a big dude, but not near as big as his brother. He's a little bit smaller. Now, there's a couple knocks on him just with the injury-related issue, but I'm telling you right now that is a soft core muscle issue. That is not something that is usually repetitive. So, like, for the people that are saying he has an injury concern or red flags there, you got to delete that from your from your memory. That's not the case with this. It's a core muscle issue. That is something that completely reheals. Now, his production wasn't elite. It was on that way. He only got to play in 3 games this year before he had his injury. and probably could have came back and played in the bowl season or perhaps Big Ten championship. But he decided, you know what, I'm going to start to prepare for my career, which we're starting to see a trend more and more. So I guess, if you want to knock him for that, that's your call. But again, his sack production is not elite. His freshman year, he put up 5 sacks. His sophomore year, 8.5 sacks, and then he had 4 sacks in 3 games before he got injured. So that only leads him up to 17.5 career sacks. And he's not a huge tackling machine either. Only 77 career total tackles. And one of my biggest knocks on Bosa, and it's a small one, like I shouldn't say biggest knocks, it's hard to find a weakness in his game, is that he doesn't have that elite motor after the ball is out of the backfield. So 49ers fans, you're going to remember Justin Smith chasing down, the Eagles and stripping the ball 20 yards downfield on a screen pass to win a game. You're not going to get that from Nick Bosa. It's not who he is. He goes all out, elite first step, but he's not one of those high-end motor guys. So Bosa is exactly what you draw up, a 4-3 edge rusher. An absolute elite first step, even though he doesn't have that top-end speed that you would probably want. I don't see him being an elite speed guy like in the 40, but he is very, very quick out of his step. And, man, whenever you put the film of Nick Bosa versus his brother, they are almost identical for the first 2 to 3 steps. Now, he's very heavy-handed, and what I mean by that is whenever he engages with the blocker, whether it's a tackle or a guard, the tackle moves. So he's not a person that just puts his hands out there to get extension. He's violent-handed. So whenever he extends his hand, he affects the blocker big time. And the bend around the edge just is uncanny for his size because he's thick-hipped. Whenever you look at Nick Bosa and Josh Allen next to each other, even though their size is very comparable, they are built completely different. Nick Bosa is 6'4", 263, and Josh Allen 6'4", 258. So there's only about a 5 pounds difference. But the athleticism of Josh Allen is uncanny compared to Nick Bosa's much more stout and thick in the hips. But this does not seem to affect Nick Bosa on the edge. His bend is beyond incredible. And so, again, whenever I talk about bend, what I mean is once the outside pass rusher in a 4-3, so the tackle gets their depth and that end gets to quarterback depth, meaning if he just keeps going deep, he's going to run behind the quarterback, right? Think Cassius Marsh. He's very infamous for this. But once he gets to that quarterback depth, he bends in and uses his lower leverage. Von Miller's probably the best in the NFL at this, to basically create an L to the quarterback. So he goes straight upfield, then cuts diagonally in or flat in to get to the quarterback depth. He doesn't round behind the quarterback. Now, at the contact point, what I was saying earlier about his heavy-handedness, his hands and hips are always going in the opposite direction. So even though he is very thick in the waist, Nick Bosa, he is able to make linemen miss consistently because he gives them a very broad target with his shoulders, but as soon as they go to engage and extend their arms, he is amazing at deflecting arms and twisting hips and shoulders opposite to minimize the target once they try to engage. And so there's no wasted moves. And it's very ideal. It's almost like shadow boxing whenever Aaron Donald's very, very famous for this because whenever the guards and centers try to engage him, he just slips through. Nick Bosa has this very same kind of no wasted moves, slippery big man, which is ideal. It's what you're looking for. And he's also great at attacking half a man. And what I mean by that is that the 49ers don't coach this very well, Robert Saleh's defense, is when the defensive end is rushing the quarterback in an obvious pass situation, your concern is not so much to occupy the blocker so they don't get to your backers. It's different in the run game and pass game. In the pass game, you just want to get to the quarterback. So you do not want to engage with the blocker as minimally as possible. You want to get rid of them. And so a lot of times we will rush. This is probably Solomon Thomas's biggest issue is he engages the offensive tackle head up. His head is almost in between the chest, and he is hitting both shoulders, which means you're losing leverage. That's going to be in the offensive tackle's or offensive guard's favor every single time. But what Nick Bosa does is he attacks half a man, which means he will engage with both hands on only the left shoulder of the left tackle. He's not engaging the full man. He's only hitting half a man. And that gives him leverage, and you see the leverage that he uses and how to take advantage of it play in, play out. I always say this, watching highlight film, I get it, and it's fun, and you can see how great somebody is. That's like reading a dating profile set up on Tinder. But whenever you go back and you watch game film, you watch every single play 3 or 4 times throughout the entire span of a game, that's like going and talking to an ex-girlfriend or an ex-boyfriend and saying, hey, what's the issues here? What are the good and what are the bad? And whenever you can see a player whose highlights match their game film, that's when the alarm goes off. And you see this repeatedly with Nick Bosa. He's a very disciplined player when it comes to run gap responsibilities. He is absolutely perfect in the run game. He never turns his shoulders. He is always parallel to the line of scrimmage, and he maintains his gaps. Down the line, he never gets in the backfield whenever he's not supposed to, and if he does get in the backfield, it's because he's driving his man back. He's not slipping blocks to where his linemen go pick up a linebacker. So he's keeping his linebackers able to elevate their play by the way he handles his run game responsibility. And his pursuit angles are great. Again, the only thing is just his top-end speed and effort seems to dissipate after the ball clears the line of scrimmage. Not that it's again, this is the only negative, and it's a small one, is that he doesn't show crazy effort, but that's about it. Now, my player comparison for him is a less athletic Myles Garrett. I don't think he's as athletic and bendy as him. But he does have a better bend. So less athletic Myles Garrett, but a better bend around the corner, which is insane. My scoring, the way that I do this, again, I don't finalize everything until after the combine, but he is neck and neck with Myles Garrett. And I think I might like him a little bit more than Myles Garrett as of now. I think he should go first overall or second overall. I don't think there's any way he gets past number 2. And that is Nick Bosa. Now, let's jump over and let's talk about Josh Allen, and then I'm going to go through kind of my report card of the 10 different categories and on a scale of 1 to 10 how they each fared out. So, Josh Allen, he is 100% all production in the SEC. Again, 6'4", 258 from Kentucky, and this guy has every award imaginable. He got everything. The Bronco Nagurski Award, Chuck Bednarik Award, Consensus All-American, Ronnie Lott Award, SEC Defensive Player of the Year Award, broke the record for most sacks ever in 1 year for the SEC. Like, this guy balled out against the best competition. And what makes it even crazier is he was only rushing the passer about half the time. They used him in coverage like crazy. So even though he was able to get 17 sacks his senior year, he could have had way more because he was only rushing the passer about half the time. So if you are looking at production, Josh Allen's going to be your guy. He didn't get a lot of playing time his freshman year. He only saw 3 games, had half a sack that year. But after that, it was all on. 7 sacks sophomore year, 7 sacks junior year, then 17 and a half sacks his senior year. And also tackles for loss. He finished with his career 42 tackles for loss, which is just insane. He plays on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Whereas Nick Bosa is your ideal 4-3 edge, Josh Allen is your ideal perfect outside linebacker in a 3-4 setting because his versatility jumps off the charts. His speed is elite. And so he was used in every single way possible as an off-the-ball linebacker on the edge, split out wide, lined up in man-to-man coverage versus the number 2 wide receiver in certain sets. The guy he's played where he is the spy or mirror to the quarterback against running quarterbacks. This guy's done it all. And there's not a weakness. The NFL values edge pressure more than any position on defense. However, Josh Allen can do it all. And I don't think that this is a negative for him. However, if he does go to a 4-3 team, I think that he will be very, very successful. However, you are taking away about half of his traits. Ideally, he needs to go to a 3-4. He'll be successful in either team. And every single NFL team will have this kid on their on their big board. But in a perfect football world, he would be playing somewhere very similar to kind of that TJ Watt role with the Steelers, where he is just a playmaker every single play. Sometimes it's in coverage, sometimes it's in run, sometimes it's in pass rush, all those things. He's just kind of, and I don't want to say jack of all trades, he's like a king of all trades. He's just good at everything. So again, when you look at Josh Allen, even though their size is similar, pure speed and athleticism. Now, he will fit every scheme, as I talked about. Now, his coverage skills are A+ for an off-the-ball linebacker in both zone and man. He gets his hand on the football in the passing game, and he is very, very long. I'm curious to see what his wingspan's going to be, but I'm thinking it's going to be very, very close to like 7 foot. Something very similar to what we saw with Tremaine Edmonds last year, who was the off-ball linebacker drafted by the Bills, who just had a great year and got better and better and better. He could be that player, but he offers much more value when he rushes the passer. He is one of the best speed pass rushers I have graded in college football. He's up there. Now the problem, and this is the big negative, okay? Not saying he can't do it, because he plays with so much power in the run game, and he is very physical at the point of attack, but you never see this off the edge. He has one move and one move only, and that is pure speed off the edge, beating the tackle around the bend and getting to the quarterback, which he's amazing at. But we have seen in the NFL, when you go up against people like Trent Brown that are super, super long, or you go up against somebody like Joe Staley that's basically a tight end in an offensive tackle's body, you cannot just have one pass rushing move to be an elite pass rusher at the NFL. Now, could he just stay with his speed rush and still get 7 or 8 sacks a year? Yeah, I think that's his floor if he goes to a 4-3 team. But somehow he's going to have to develop some type of inside counter move or a power rush move. Not saying he can't do it, because his body type seems to elude that he can, and you see it in the running game. I'm just saying I have not seen it in game film yet. He is a one-trick pony as of now. Again, just because they haven't done it, now you are moving to potential, right? And potential just means, Bill Parcells' famous quote, potential means you just haven't done it yet. So if you can get a defensive coach or a pass rush specialist that can teach this guy and enhance his moves, then he's going to be elite, because he is absolutely incredible and effective at just that speed rush with a simple arm rip to get the player's the offensive tackle's hands off of him and get to the quarterback. He's so quick. Now, very disciplined in the run game, excels in backside pursuit and stopping cutback lanes. Probably one of the most disciplined defensive players I have seen in a while at this. And as I was watching film and you could see him spy different quarterbacks, I'm sitting there thinking, man, if I have Lamar Jackson or I have a Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen, quarterback Josh Allen, in my league, man, I want to spy on obvious running downs with Josh Allen, this guy, because the way that he just glances off of blocks and gets to the ball carrier is uncanny in the open field. You can't juke this guy. He's so long, he's so athletic, and he's so technique proven whenever it comes to tackling in the open field. Now, he sometimes does miss tackles whenever it's inside the box, but whenever he's in the open field, he's incredible. So again, there's going to be some teams that look at Josh Allen and just say, holy cow, he will completely negate and take away a quarterback that thinks they're mobile. So he's going to have a lot of extra value to certain teams there. My player comparison for him is Bruce Irvin with more size. If you remember when Bruce Irvin came out of West Virginia, he was that wide 9 technique that just shot out of his freaking out like a cannon to get the quarterback every single play, and that's really all he did. However, Josh Allen can do that from a tight against the tackle technique, that 7 technique or outside shade, and that's the thing, is because he's not a liability in the run game, and he can cover, and he can play off the ball if you need him to. So I think that he will go in the top 5. I really, really do, and I don't think that there's much competition for the top 2 guys. Now, I love Clelin Ferrell. I'm a big Polite fan, even though I think he's very, very raw. And obviously Montez Sweat, who had a great practicing week at the Senior Bowl with our coaching staff, but didn't have the best game. Those are kind of the second-tier guys, and I like those guys. However, if you are picking at the top of the draft, you're picking 1 or 2, these two guys are the ones you want. Obviously, Nick Bosa for me, and I don't think it's close, especially for the 49ers who run a 4-3. Now, if you run a 3-4, I still would prefer Nick Bosa, but Josh Allen is going to be more versatile, and you can do more things with him. Now, let's go through category by category, and I have these in order. Okay, of things that I look for whenever I scout edge pressures. Now, this is not completely my own list. Last year, I went into the dark interwebs and went on a Bill Walsh kind of history, whatever, and just read everything I could of Bill Walsh and what he put out. And he actually had a top 5 things that he looks for when he drafts every position or scouts every position. So I stole this from the great Bill Walsh and adapted it and added some new things to it. So let's go through this. Number 1 that he said, and I agree with him, is speed rush with a bend. Now, this is the number 1 thing. And with Nick Bosa, I have him at a solid 8. It should be probably at 9. And Josh Allen's at a 10. This is one of the categories where Josh Allen is head and shoulders way above Bosa, which is crazy to think of. Now, the number 2 thing is a power/bull pass rush. Nick Bosa's at a perfect 10 here. Josh Allen is at a 2. And I put him at a 2 because I've seen him do it in the run game. Again, as I said earlier, just non-existence on game film. I think he can do it. You just haven't seen it. Quick first step. Bosa's got an 8. Great first step. Gets out a yard ahead of everybody almost every play. Josh Allen, even more elite, which doesn't even make sense. He's at a 10. Now, play recognition, I have them both at an 8. They're both very, very solid in the run game. They understand when it's a pass. They are opportunists whenever it comes to the balls on the ground or fumbles. They're going to be around there. Now, effort or motor, I've got Nick Bosa at a 7 and Josh Allen at a 9. Times on the ground. I never see any of them on the ground. This is one of the most important things, and where some of those second-tier pass rushers are way behind is they are constantly on the ground, getting cut, not using their hands, getting their weight off balance, pancake block. It happens. And so the fact that both of these guys score a perfect 10 there helps you see why they're so elite. There's not going to be busted plays on your defense because of these two guys. Now, punishing tackler. Whenever you tackle, they feel it, and they're scared of you. Nick Bosa's at a 9, pretty close to a 10. He's a mean, mean man. Josh Allen's at a 6. Even though he is strong and powerful, sometimes he likes to arm tackle. He's a lot longer. His wingspan, I'm guessing, is going to be quite a bit longer than Bosa, and so sometimes he kind of wraps them up and slings them down, whereas Bosa just goes through your soul, just who he is. Hand use to create separation, Bosa's a perfect 10. Violent, quick, smart hands, Allen's at a 6. He's got good hands. However, he doesn't use a lot of moves. He kind of just does the dip and rip where you just pull your elbow up to your ear and try to get the hands of the lineman off of you, and that's about it. Whereas when Bosa engages, he's moving your body. You're moving away. Run game. Nick Bosa is at a 10. Now, Josh Allen is interesting because I gave him 2 separate grades. If you're going to use Josh Allen on the line in a 4-3 scheme, I gave him a 6. But if you run a 3-4, I gave him a 10 because he is great off the ball, reading up the middle, cutting off back lanes, all those things. But again, we haven't seen him a lot on the line against the run. So that's going to go to Bosa there. In coverage, this is probably one of the most lopsided. Bosa gets a 2. We don't see it very often. Josh Allen gets a 9. He's incredible in coverage. So those are kind of the 10 criteria. Again, I lean Bosa big time in a 4-3 and a 3-4. I think it's closer, but still give the nod to Bosa. Now, here's where I want to talk a little bit just about the draft, how the draft will fall. Now, the Arizona Cardinals have come out and they have said they are switching back to a 3-4 scheme. This is very, very important in the draft because, again, as I've talked, I think that they are much closer in value if we look at a 3-4. But if you look at what the Cardinals do, they have Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones is playing that elite kind of pass rushing spot off the outside linebacker position they did for the Patriots. He led the NFL in sacks 2 years ago. They have that guy under contract. He's not going anywhere. That's the same spot where you would play these guys. Now, I think that for them, a better fit would be Quentin Williams, the absolute insane inside defensive end for Alabama. He is incredible. So, if I am a 49ers fan, which I am, I do think that our chances right now are at about a 60-40%. I think that that we will be able to get Nick Bosa, that he will not go number one. Now, I do think that Nick Bosa is the best person in the draft. However, if I am the Cardinals at 1 and we just switch to a 3-4, I think Quentin Williams will play a better role in what they are trying to do. Bosa can do that. I agree. But I think that Quentin Williams is a possibility there. And then on top of that, and this is where I get to 60-40, I think a quarterback-needy team can trade up to that number 1 overall spot. We have gone 6 straight years where a quarterback has gone in the top 3. So I expect that to continue. I understand this isn't the strongest quarterback class, but we've had a lot of bad quarterback classes in the past, and it doesn't matter. If you're a quarterback-needy team, you've got to trade up to get your guy. And there's about 6 to 7 teams that are likely to trade up, and I'm putting them in order. So, number 1, these are teams that are likely to trade up number 1 overall for a quarterback. Or 2, let's say the Cardinals do take Nick Bosa, the 49ers should trade out. I like Josh Allen. I don't like Josh Allen at that 2 spot. I wouldn't be mad if we took it, but I would much rather trade back to kind of that 5 to 6 range and see what's there and just get a ridiculous amount of picks. So let's go through these teams that are most likely to trade up according to me. This is John Chapman's analysis, and these are in order. Number 1 is Jacksonville, who's sitting at 7. 1, they have already come out publicly and said, we are not happy with our quarterback situation, which I don't know how you could be happy with Blake Bortles there. But not only are they most likely to trade up, they have all of their picks in the first 7 rounds and an additional 3rd. So I could strongly see Jacksonville moving up to that 1 or 2 spot. They're very, very close. I think that they would have to spend a first next year at least, and probably an additional 3rd. So if they're jumping up to that 1 or 2 spot, I could see them giving up first round this year, first round next year, and a 3rd or a 4th. So they wouldn't have to mortgage the whole bank. Second team is Denver, picking at 10. John Elway has just been awful. He got that Super Bowl where he just paid every free agent in the world and then screwed over his salary cap for the next several years and then made several bad quarterback evaluations. But they don't have a quarterback. Case Keenum is not going to be the guy. It's just not going to happen. So what are you going to do? They're picking at 10 right now, and they have an extra 4th and a 5th round pick. So I understand, like, if you're listening to this saying, well, what the hell is a 4th and a 5th round pick going to do to get you to move up from 10 to 1 or 2? It's not going to do much. But if you give up a 2nd or 3rd round pick to get up that high, you now have these extra picks to try to fill depth. And so 4th and 5th round picks, they add a lot of value in the fact that you can still sell to your fan base, well, hey, look, we moved up to get a quarterback, and we still have 6 picks in this draft, so we're able to address all of these needs. So I think Denver is the second big chance, and I think those two, Jacksonville and Denver, are kind of in a tier of their own. After this, we start to get into questions. Cincinnati at pick 11. Andy Dalton's not going to be the guy there forever. Eventually, you got to move on, and Marvin Lewis is gone now. Zach Taylor, the quarterback coach for the Rams, is now their head coach. I don't think you want to move forward with Andy Dalton. If you want to make a stance, new head coaches usually mean new quarterbacks, unless you have something in place, like Frank Reich did with Andrew Luck. If you don't have a strong quarterback in place and you're a head coach / former quarterback coach, that's what you're going to do. You're going to try to find a way to move up, and I think that they could. Miami at 13, again, you move on from your head coach, and you don't have a quarterback. There's no way you can believe in Ryan Tannehill can stay healthy, let alone is he good enough to lead your team to the playoffs. So they've got to get a quarterback. And 2 teams that are mentioned a lot that I disagree with, number 1 is Tampa Bay at 5, even though they're the first quarterback-needy team to pick. Bruce Arians is their head coach. If they would have got a different head coach, I would have said, yeah, they're going to trade it for a quarterback. But Bruce Arians is old, and I don't think he's likely to start a rebuild. So Jameis Winston or a veteran quarterback is going to be at play there. I really do not see them trading up for a quarterback just because, again, Bruce Arians might have 2 or 3 years. That's it. And so do you really want to start over with a rookie quarterback and groom him for another head coach to come in? I don't think he's going to. And a big reason why he retired and left the Cardinals was because all of his quarterback opportunities were completely gone. Carson Palmer was done, and he didn't want to go through that process. So he retired, and now he's back. And to be honest with you, I think Jameis Winston's a horrible quarterback just because he's not smart and makes terrible decisions. But this is the best coaching situation for Jameis Winston. Downfield, vertical passing threat, and so Bruce Arians is going to get the best out of him. Now the Giants at 6, a lot of people talk about them trading up. Their GM, David Gettleman, has traded up one time whenever he was with Carolina to get a linebacker, but again, it wasn't like a huge trade up. I do not see him as trading up in the first round for a quarterback. I hope he does. I really do. But they don't have a third-round draft pick. They do have 2 fourths and 2 fifths, but their draft capital isn't the best, and they have a very old-school GM that just does not believe in trading up in the first round, so I don't think that they will be moving. I really don't. And then the last one is Washington at 15. They don't have a 4th or a 5th, and their quarterback, I don't know if you want to move forward with Alex Smith and Colt McCoy. Alex Smith might not ever play again. Colt McCoy's coming off a pretty bad injury himself, but I think that there are a lot of options for trading right there. So anyway, just keep in mind, there's going to be movement at the top of the draft. There is every single year, and it's just which team is going to be the one to jump up. And if somebody does jump up to number 1 and grab a quarterback, that means Nick Bosa falls in the lap of the 49ers, and we're going to be extremely happy in San Francisco with that. But thanks for listening, and again, just a quick recap. Head over to YouTube, hit subscribe to my page, just type in John Chapman, hit the filter button, go down to channels. It'll be the first one that pops up. You'll see my ugly face. Hit subscribe there, and head over to Twitter and retweet that Roger Craig jersey so you can win a free autographed Roger Craig jersey. Thanks a lot. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Take care, and we'll be back with you guys with another round of different NFL draft prospects. I'm hoping to finish out my pass rushers. I'm going to do another 4-part series where we'll go through each one pretty quickly, but stay tuned.